Hello, men. Good to see you. In Romans chapter 3, verse 1, we are told that in whatever we judge another, we condemn ourselves. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus tells us, "Judge not, lest we be judged." And yet we are called in many portions of Scripture to exercise discernment and wisdom and to avoid wrongdoing and to pursue righteousness. And so the issue here becomes, when does our discernment turn into what may be termed unrighteous judgment? And so in this video, I would like to identify 5 ways that I've come up with to help avoid this. And let me say right out of the gate, I've blown this, men. I've judged. I've wrongfully judged. And you probably have too. So let's look at these 5 ways so going forward we can be better men of God. The first thing we can do is to examine our own motivations. Why are we thinking the way we're thinking? Are we trying to exalt ourselves above another person or other people? Are we looking at the situation in humility as one sinner would look at the behavior of another sinner? Or are we trying to puff ourselves up over the situation? This is one of the reasons why gossip is so destructive. It's not only destructive to the subject of the gossip, but the person who's trying to magnify themselves through the gossip is also hurting themselves. The second thing is to make sure that what we're looking at, a behavior we're looking at, is actually sin. Some things, some behaviors we may not approve of or like, such as smoking, drinking alcohol, drinking coffee, playing video games. There's a myriad of things that may not be good for us. Maybe we've seen it be destructive in others, but can we really look at that behavior by a particular person and say, that's sin? And maybe the reality is, when we're looking at it, is it would be sin for us, but not necessarily sin for the other person. The third thing we can do is to separate the sin from the sinner. You probably heard the phrase, and one of the brothers brought it up Tuesday night: love the sinner, hate the sin. And it's a very important thing to remember, because while we can look at behavior and we can evaluate behavior, we cannot see into the human heart. We simply do not know the motivations that underlie whatever the person is doing. So we need to be very careful that we don't sit in judgment of a person's heart, a person's eternal destiny, or anything like that. Number 4 is to remember that God is the righteous judge. God will judge. We can rely on that. And God not only judges behavior, but he is the discerner of the hearts. He is the one who said, people look at the outside, but he, God, looks at the heart. Let's let him do that. That's his job, not ours. And the 5th and final thing we should do is to examine our own hearts and our own behavior. Back to Matthew 7, Jesus said that we should be taking the plank out of our own eye before we try to get the speck out of the other guy's eye. Well, to me, that means if I'm seeing something wrong in another person, or the other person is doing something wrong, that's a red flag that maybe that's my failing too, and maybe I'm actually worse. And so anytime we're looking at another person's behavior, we're properly evaluating it, and we're thinking, no, this is not good, this is not righteous, this is not what the Bible commands, perhaps another good step would be to take it a little further and think, well, wait a minute, am I violating this command? Am I falling short in this area? And these are hard things to do. Easy to say, hard to do, men. So there are 5 ways that we can work to prevent righteous discernment from becoming unrighteous judgment. And so until I see you again, may the Lord richly bless you, my brothers.